everyone, B.O.R.G Dexter here, and in this video I will be reviewing the new IP game from Capcom called Pragmata. Pragmata is a sci-fi action-adventure game set on Cradle, a base on the moon. You take on the role of Hugh Williams, who, along a few of his crewmates, is sent to the Cradle to see why it has lost contact with Earth, and to fix whatever is causing the communication issue. Immediately upon arrival, the crew notices something is very wrong, as there are no people around, and only androids managed and controlled by Idis or Edis, the station AI, are there. Before you can figure out what exactly happened, a moonquake strikes, wiping out your team, and Hugh is saved by a Pragmata, an android in the form of a little girl, model name DI-03367. who Hugh names Diana for convenience sake after she rescues him. So, Pragmata is a mostly linear action-adventure game in which you hack and shoot various androids. This concept may seem simple and repetitive, but there are plenty of game mechanics that keep things fresh. When you are aiming at an enemy, Diana will need to hack them to make them open, leaving them vulnerable to your weapon attacks. You can shoot enemies while they are unhacked, but you will do negligible damage to them. Hacking is done with the face buttons, so X, square, triangle and circle. You will need to get to the green button on the hacking board while trying to go through as many blue squares as possible on your way. The more blue squares you hit, the more damage the hacking will do, though shooting weapons is the most damage-dealing method as long as the enemies are hacked, of course. And the longer the enemy will stay open, exposing his weak points for you to shoot. Hacking nodes are also a combat mechanic. You will need to equip them before heading to an area, and they can also be picked up in the levels themselves. And these nodes have various effects. Some link enemies together, opening multiple enemies after hacking just one enemy. Some nodes stun enemies. One of the cooler nodes confuses enemies, leading them to attack any of their allies that are nearby.
It's my turn.
Some nodes increase the rate of heat level buildup in enemies, and when they overheat, enemies are stunned for a while, giving you opportunities to attack them. To activate these various effects, you will need to pass through these yellow nodes in the hacking minigame. These nodes are also limited, and when they are spent, they will need to be restocked, whether by finding them in the level or going back to the shelter. When you find yourself overwhelmed, you can use Diana's overdrive ability, which damages all of the enemies in the area and stuns them for a long while, a real useful ability. To activate the overdrive, you will need to fill up Diana's hacking gauge, which can be done via the occasional pickup, but mostly by hacking enemies. The enemy variety is also good. You will quickly move on from the basic humanoid robots to more unique enemies. The childlike giant robots are especially unnerving and introduce a small gameplay mechanic of engaging shields that some other enemies do as well, which will prevent you from moving the cursor on the hacking grid until you destroy the shield with your weapons, enabling you to hack the enemy again. Some enemies fly, making them harder to hit, while others have more of a support role and will, for example, fly over to damaged enemies and repair them, restoring their HP. Others have a massive hacking grid with blocks that block passage, making you go the long way around. This is where the sticky bombs weapon comes in handy, as it temporarily reduces the size of the hacking grid. Some enemies act as artillery and bomb you from afar, forcing you to not stay too long in one place. Though enemies can be dealt with in mostly the same way, the enemy variety and their unique small gameplay mechanics does provide enough combat variety and dynamics to not become boring. You also have a wide variety of weapons, some just deal damage, while others are useful in more non-lethal ways. Weapons are divided in 4 categories: primary weapons, of which there are 2, and they reload automatically with unlimited ammo. Then there are attack, tactical and defense units, as the game calls these weapon categories. All are color-coded by white, red, green, and blue to make selecting weapons easier. A shotgun, a laser rifle, a homing missile launcher, the jackhammer, a melee weapon that you unlock after you complete the game, are all examples of damage-dealing attack unit type weapons. For the more support role weapons, there is the stasis net gun that freezes enemies in place, a decoy generator that fires holographs of Hugh, distracting enemies, a sticky bomb launcher that reduces the size of the hacking grid, making it easier to hack enemies faster, and there's the riot blaster that knocks enemies down, giving you precious time for other enemies, good for crowd control and a few more weapons. Every time you pick up a new weapon in the wild, so to speak, so not in your base, you will need to pay a certain amount of Luna filament, a kind of money in the game, to 3D print it at the shelter and be able to equip it on subsequent runs. Weapon ammo is limited, except like I said, the primary weapon that reloads after you spend a clip. I have to say that the variety and number of weapons surprised me and allows for more dynamic gameplay, in theory. To be honest, I rarely used weapons that weren't my favorite. My favorites, by the way, are the shotgun, the laser rifle, and the decoy weapon, and I had little trouble dealing with enemies on standard difficulty, including the boss fights, bar a few exceptions. Now I will talk a bit about the various boss fights in the game. Their models are pretty interesting, but I must say that they are not really challenging, at least on the normal difficulty. I never had to use special tactics or specific weapons to defeat a boss, with a few exceptions like the boss in the Terra Dome sector, the Scorpion-like boss. I had to use weapons I normally didn't up to that point to beat this boss. These fights were still fun, mind you, just nothing too special. Even the upgraded 2.0 version bosses, unlocked in a new game mode after game completion, called Unknown Signal, are not difficult, especially considering that by then you have all the weapons and upgrades that carry through into the playthrough from loading the completed game save. The boss fights on Lunatic difficulty are another matter though, gameplay-wise. When you are not fighting enemies, you will be doing some light platforming, hacking switches to unlock doors, doing some light puzzles, deactivating lasers to create a path, and stuff like that. The game is pretty linear with some branching paths that lead to extra resources, like Luna Filament or these yellow cubes that are upgrade components, used to enhance your primary weapon and upgrade Diana's hacking or increase Hugh's max HP. You can also find REMs or REMs, Read-Earth Memories, data that recreates locations and toys from the Earth, like the beach or say RC cars, which you can later gift to Diana upon returning to the shelter. More on that later. Though the game is linear in places, it is easy to get a bit lost when you backtrack for missed resources and 100%ing stuff, because some areas have weaving and convoluted paths, so it is sometimes hard to find stuff, even with a very useful Diana scan that reveals all important items nearby. Adding to this is the very useless map that is of no help at navigating spaces, as it just shows in which area you are, not tracking the character movement or your location in said area. Navigation is still good overall, thanks to the many checkpoints that allow you to travel to and from them, and also allow you to return to the shelter to refuel health and ammo, upgrade and buy weapons, nodes, and receive new abilities or change your loadout. I've mentioned the shelter a few times now, so let's get to that. The shelter is your home base in which you can upgrade and buy new weapons that you have to find first in the game, upgrade your various nodes, turn in coins you find to basically a PC tower called cabin for various rewards from new outfits, these red keys that are used to enter optional combat areas. Also, there are a few abilities you can buy and upgrade at the shelter, such as the object scan ability that Diana uses to scan your surroundings, revealing all nearby boxes, REMs, upgrade components, and anything basically that can be collected. You can also buy an auto-hack ability that can be used. It consumes a certain amount of Diana's hacking gauge. The critical shot ability sometimes spawns the critical hit nodes that are purple, and if passed through while hacking an enemy, inflicts great damage. There is also a training pod for which you will need to find data in the game to unlock new levels. These levels are basically various challenges that each have a primary objective and two optional ones. These levels or challenges range from platforming ones, combat challenges. Sometimes you will need to avoid and deactivate lasers by hacking switches, and other times these challenges contain a mix of everything. Rewards vary from cabin coins, upgrade components or Luna filament, basically money to buy and upgrade weapons, nodes and abilities. These levels can be pretty challenging, especially if you aim to achieve all three objectives in the challenges. Another feature of the shelter is the bot database console. New entries can be unlocked by turning in cabin coins. This console shows the various enemy types, including bosses, a short description of them, and a model viewer. A neat little feature. I mentioned collecting REMs or REMs, so Red Earth Memory. These can be gifted to Diana in the shelter and are usually toys like an RC car, a skateboard, crayons, balloons, a basketball, stuff like that. At first, these items seemed out of place for me in the shelter in the sense that they were just random stuff strewn about. But after you complete a set of REMs, the empty space between the items in the same set is filled in, creating a meaningful thematic whole.
Read Earth Memory Series complete. Replicating related objects.
We did it! Look! We've collected the entire series! You must spend every day on Earth in fun places like this.
Replicating related objects.
We did it! I bet the person who collected these really loved the ocean. I wonder if this REM was inspired by someone's memory.
These items serve no other purpose other than decoration and a source of a lot of cuteness watching Diana interacting with the various items and learning about Earth. So, in the end, I feel it's well worth to collect these items.
Huh? Hey, Hugh! Cat! You okay? Not hurt, are you?
Nice pass, kiddo.
Dang, 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 dang!
You got me.
Yeah! I did it! Here we go! Leave it to me, sir. I'll make sure all the lights are green.
I also love the small details in the shelter. For example, finding a paper target posted on a propped up pallet that appears shortly after you gift a water gun to Diana. The various little cabin statues, all with unique and fun appearances. Then the various drawings given to you by Diana, strewn about, and a few other smaller details. I always love it when devs spice up the game with small details like these, and will always praise this. From time to time, as you talk to Diana and get to know her better, teaching her about humans and the Earth, she will gift you cute drawings as a sign of love and appreciation that you talk to her and explain things. This is bound to get you to like Diana, even if you are not someone that is easily swayed into liking someone. I will now expand a bit more about the story and the characters in the game. Like I already said, Hugh was sent along with his crew to the Cradle, the base on the moon, to see why communication has ceased. Pretty soon everything goes belly up and the crew meets a tragic end, save for Hugh, who was saved by Diana. From then on, Hugh is trying to get to an escape shuttle with Diana to leave for Earth, fighting Edis, the station AI, and all the obstacles it places in the way, all the while chucking ever more dangerous robots your way. In the background, so to say, is the lore and a different story about creating the whole base and the space elevator that leads to Earth by 3D printing everything, using Luna filament, an element found only on the moon. There is also the matter of Diana, who created her and why is she so human-like and acts as a real human child, despite being a highly sophisticated android that processes data at enormous speeds, enabling her to hack other robots and the base systems.
Diana, don't. Okay.
I think I see how it works. I should be able to break this down. I'm gonna try something. 0.00011000000.
There are also various files in the game, flashing out numerous little side characters through them. Another important part of the story is the relationship between Diana, a man-made Pragmata, and the man who created her. This relationship is revealed through files and numerous holographic projections, especially towards the end of the game, that reveal the reason Dr. Higgins created the Pragmata. Diana is not the only Pragmata, by the way, and his ultimate downfall while he was completely lost in his important work, with a big personal stake in it. The voice actors also do a good job and I have no objections on that front. The biggest issue for me is the anime-like lame antagonist with a stupidly misguided wish to pass on a presumed lesson or message from a deceased, loved, or at least somewhat liked person. You know, the old classic, I believe this is what a dying person meant I should do, to convey his or her last message or wish, so I'm gonna destroy the whole world, fulfilling my understanding of the apparent dying wish of said person. A disappointment for a very simplistic antagonist, in my opinion. As far as character progression goes, aside from the bad protagonist, the relationship that slowly develops between Diana and Hugh is great. Not as great as the relationship between Joel and Ellie from The Last of Us 1, for example, but still good. This relationship also develops mid-gameplay when Hugh and Diana talk on various topics like why is Diana barefoot? Why does she wear an oversized jacket? When they talk about whether Diana can taste food and does she actually need to eat and stuff like that. Hugh also talks about him growing up and about his travels back on Earth. That's about it for the characters, since aside from our duo and the antagonist, there aren't any other characters, aside from glimpses into other people through the occasional hologram or the files you read. There is also a journalist called Daniel Galliano who infiltrated the Cradle before the shit hit the fan, looking to get a scoop on the Cradle base, made by the Delphi Corporation. And he also has a personal reason to be there. These files of his you can get do a decent job of fleshing out the lore a bit, while providing a short little side story. To make one thing clear, none of the story or characters are groundbreaking, though they are good and serve as a nice background and palate cleanser to the gameplay, except for the bad antagonist like I already said. The character progression is certainly better than in Resident Evil Requiem, that's for sure. As far as graphics go, the complete art style is great, there are plenty of great views, but I have noticed some blurriness here and there on some of the environments. I played on a base PS5 on the prioritized resolution mode, as both modes, this one and the prioritized framerate mode, target 60 FPS. and I did notice dips in FPS in gameplay mostly. The design of the various biomes is distinct, ranging from a simulated New York City to a Terra Dome, a dome that recreates natural environments on Earth. Then you have the sections that explore zero-gravity locations on the outside. The design of enemies is also good. I felt a bit unnerved when I first saw the giant child-like robots, and at first they were formidable enemies. Some enemy designs are inspired by animals like spiders or scorpions. There are also flying-type enemies that kinda reminded me of drones. Also, one of my favorite enemy designs are these cool samurai-like androids that wield swords. Pretty cool.
That bot's got a high-powered blade.
Heck with that. So much for the beauty of nature.
Its laser's blowing up!
Good job, Kenny. Yeah, let's do this.
The rule is that for each new area or biome, new enemies are introduced, making the combat dynamics good and prevents boredom and too much repetitiveness. As I have already mentioned, of course, there are several suits you can unlock for Hugh and Diana. Diana's suits are somewhat less interesting for me, but Hugh has some really cool looking outfits. After you complete the game, you will unlock New Game Plus, which will carry over all the weapons, suits, and upgrades. You will also unlock the Unknown Signal mode that can be activated by loading a complete game file. This will unlock a secret area that contains 10 unique mini-missions that are designed really well. To unlock each consecutive mission, you will need to beat a tougher, upgraded 2.0 version of a boss, and for the next mission you will need to 100% an area of the game. This means opening all boxes, collecting all REMs, generally speaking collecting everything that is helpfully displayed when opening the map, which is the only way the damn thing can be useful in this game. The mini-missions you unlock in this mode after completing a game are of a better quality than the challenges for the training pod. And one of the biggest advantages, in my opinion, is there is no time limit in these missions, letting you take on the missions at your own pace. The reward for completing all the missions of this mode is a cool new suit for you and Diana, some files providing lore on the AI engineer that built this secret section of the base, a new weapon that uses Luna filament as ammo. You are also rewarded with a quote-unquote true ending. I gotta say, if finding out what the true ending is your purpose for completing this mode, don't bother. The true ending, if it can even be called an ending, consists of a single line being spoken out after the credits. While the missions in this mode itself are good, the reward in the true ending is very disappointing and is one of the flaws of the game. Okay, time to summarize. First, the things I like. The game has a decent story and good character development between Hugh and Diana. Diana is very endearing with her many talks with Hugh both in cutscenes and mid-gameplay. Voice actors do a good job of selling the characters and immersing you in their journey. The graphics are good, however I have spotted some blurriness here and there. The art direction itself is great, reflected in cool enemy designs and various biomes, each with its own uniqueness. The combat is fun for the most part. The variety of weapons and enemies helps to keep boredom and repetitiveness away, though most enemies, like I said, and bosses for that matter, require no special tactics to beat, save for a very few, a bit more challenging bosses. Upgrades are satisfying whether you be upgrading weapons, nodes, or collecting various mods that provide various effects in gameplay when equipped. Upgrading Hugh's max HP, main weapon damage, and Diana's hacking skills also feels good and rewarding. There are some light platforming and puzzle elements refreshing the gameplay loop a bit. The bosses, while their designs are cool, were a bit too easy. There is a ton of details that the devs put in the game, especially the shelter area. The game has enough lore in the background to keep things interesting, so as not to rely entirely on the main story or characters for the game plot and narrative. The various cool and one very creepy suits serve as good eye candy. The replay value is decent, and the post-game content with the 10 mini-missions are some of the more fun and challenging segments of the game. Okay, now for the disappointing aspects of the game. Most notably, the antagonist is cringy and very simplistic. No nuance to the character whatsoever. Also, I noticed a few FPS dips in gameplay, and though much more rarely, some in cutscenes. The quote-unquote secret ending is very bare bones and not worth the effort. The map in the game is utterly useless for navigation purposes. It reminded me of the awful map in Control. The boss fights were too easy and, in my opinion, and not really diverse gameplay-wise. All things considered, this is a great start for a new IP for Capcom, and hopefully the start of a new franchise for them. A linear, fairly short AA game that surprised me with its quality. Good job, devs at Capcom. I give Pragmata a 9 out of 10. A great game. Okay guys, that's gonna be it for this video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't like it, give it a thumbs down. And let me know down in the comments below, what do you think of this game if you played it? Did you like it? Until next time, see ya.